Monday, October 2. The God who longs to be with us. Read Genesis chapter 17, verse 7, Genesis 26:3, and Genesis 28:15. What was the main focus of God's promise to Abraham and his descendants in these verses? First of all, Genesis 17:7, and I will establish my covenant between me and you and your descendants after you in their generations, for an everlasting covenant, to be God to you and your descendants after you. And chapter 26, verse 3, dwell in this land, and I will be with you and bless you, for to you and your descendants I give all these lands, and I will perform the oath which I swore to Abraham, your father. And chapter 28 of Genesis, verse 15, behold, I am with you and will keep you wherever you go, and will bring you back to this land, for I will not leave you until I have done what I have spoken to you. In the Old Testament narrative, God continues to act according to his missionary nature in order to fulfill his purposes. For instance, after the flood, the people of Babel decided to gather in one place to build a city and a tower that would reach to the heavens. God intervened, confusing their language with a goal to scatter them around the world, as we read in Genesis 11, verses 1 to 9. Now the whole earth had one language and one speech. And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. Then they said to one another, come, let us make bricks and bake them thoroughly. They had brick for stone, and they had asphalt for mortar. And they said, come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower whose top is in the heavens. Let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered abroad over the face of the whole earth. But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the sons of men had built. And the Lord said, indeed, the people are one, and they all have one language, and this is what they begin to do? Now nothing that they propose to do will be withheld from them. Come, let us go down and there confuse their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad from there over the face of all the earth, and they ceased building the city. Therefore its name is called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of all the earth, and from there the Lord scattered them abroad over the face of all the earth. He then enlarged his mission, calling Abram, who later became Abraham, to be a channel of his blessings to the whole world, as we read in Genesis 12, verses 1 to 3. Now the Lord had said to Abram, get out of your country, from your family, and from your father's house, to a land that I will show you. I will make you a great nation. I will bless you, and make your name great. And you shall be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse him who curses you. And in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed. God's promises to Abraham and his descendants were multifold, but one emerges above all. Several times, God basically declared to them, I will be your God. I will be with you. I am with you. And we read that in Genesis 17 and 26 and 28 at the beginning of today's lesson. As history goes on, Joseph ends up in Egypt, but as an instrument of salvation to God's people. In every step of Joseph's experience, even in the most difficult moments of his life, the Bible affirms that the Lord was with him. We read that in Genesis 39, verses 2, 21, and 23. And so we read verse 2, the Lord was with Joseph, and he was a successful man, and he was in the house of his master, the Egyptian. And then verses 21, but the Lord was with Joseph and showed him mercy, and he gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. And then verse 23, the keeper of the prison did not look into anything that was under Joseph's authority, because the Lord was with him, and whatever he did, the Lord made it prosper. Generations later, in the fulfillment of his mission, God then sent Moses to Pharaoh as the deliverer of his people from Egyptian slavery. During Moses' commissioning, God said to him in Exodus 3:12, "I will certainly be with you." Time after time, Yahweh confirmed his deep desire to be with his people. Read Exodus 29, verses 43 and 45. What was one of the main purposes of the Old Testament sanctuary? Well, let's read Exodus 29:43, "And there I will meet with the children of Israel, and the tabernacle shall be sanctified by my glory." And verse 45, "I will dwell among the children of Israel, and will be their God." God decided to be with his children in a different way. He confirmed to Moses his longing to dwell among the children of Israel in the building of the tabernacle and the establishment of a very intentional and purposeful system that would point to the ultimate instrument of his mission, Jesus Christ. Ellen White writes in the Advent Review and Herald of the Sabbath, December 17, 1872, "The sacrificial offerings and the priesthood of the Jewish system were instituted to represent the death and mediatorial work of Christ. All those ceremonies had no meaning and no virtue, only as they related to Christ." End of quote. And so to finish today, what are ways that you experience God's presence in your life? This lesson was read by Dr. Percy Harrold for Christian Services for the Blind. Sponsored by the Sabbath School Department and distributed through Hope Channel Australia, this podcast is also redistributed by Hope Channel Germany, Christian Record Services for the Blind. It is also available on SoundCloud and through multiple podcast distributors, including Apple iTunes. And you can listen and watch at the same time on YouTube. Remember, God is always faithful.